An epic frozen world exploration awaits for us. A man has reached the frozen world of Yukon, which holds many wonders and undiscovered places. Some places has hidden riches and rare items, but others has dangerous creatures and traps. The man is set on a journey to explore the frozen world, facing dangerous creatures, wild storms, and other surprises along the way. First, he need to overcome the mighty nature to make it. Will he be able to fully explore the frozen world, or the challenges will be too much? Stay tuned till the end to find out. Let's begin our story. The day was cold and gray as the man left the main Yukon trail. He climbed a steep hill that led to a smaller, less traveled path through the pine forest. At the top, he paused to catch his breath and glanced at his watch. It was 9 a.m. There was no sun in the sky, and there hadn't been for days. Though the sky was clear, the world seemed dark and lifeless. This didn't bother the man. He was new to the Yukon and was facing his first winter. He didn't truly understand the deadly power of the cold. The Yukon River stretched out before him, frozen solid and covered in snow. The landscape was endless white, except for a dark trail that curved along the river and disappeared into the distant pine trees. That trail led south 500 miles to the Chilkoot Pass in the sea, and north 75 miles to Dawson, then another 1,000 miles to the Bering Sea. But none of this concerned the man. He was focused only on reaching his friends at the camp on Henderson Creek by nightfall. He had taken this longer route to explore the possibility of floating logs down the river once the ice melted. The others had already crossed the mountains from Indian Creek and would be waiting for him with a warm fire and hot supper. The man was dressed warmly, wearing heavy boots, thick socks, mittens, and a fur cap that covered his ears. Against his bare chest, he carried his lunch, bread and meat wrapped in a handkerchief. He kept it there to prevent it from freezing. Following close behind was a large gray dog. It was a native wolf dog, with thick fur and instincts sharpened by generations of survival in the wild. Unlike the man, the dog understood the danger of the freezing cold. It sensed that this was no time to be traveling and longed for the warmth of a fire. As the man walked through the snow-covered forest, he noticed how cold it was. He rubbed his nose and cheeks with his mittened hand to keep them from freezing. He knew it was at least 50 degrees below zero, but he didn't fully grasp what that meant. To him, it was just a number, nothing more. Out of curiosity, he spat onto the snow. But instead of hitting the ground, the spit froze in the air and cracked like glass. The man frowned. It was colder than he thought, maybe 60 or even 70 degrees below zero. Still, he pressed on. He planned to reach the fork in Henderson Creek by noon and eat lunch there. The man moved steadily through the snow, keeping a good pace. Occasionally, he stopped to rub his face as the freezing air bit at his exposed skin. The dog followed closely, tail low and ears alert. It could feel the deadly cold that surrounded them. At one point, the man nearly stepped onto a patch of thin ice that covered a hidden stream. He jumped back just in time, hearing the ice crack beneath the snow. In this weather, stepping into even a shallow pool of water could be deadly. Wet feet would freeze solid within minutes. To test the ice ahead, the man forced the dog to walk in front of him. The dog hesitated, sensing danger. But when the man gave a sharp command, the animal obeyed. The dog stepped onto the ice and immediately fell through, soaking its legs. It scrambled out and began biting the ice from between its toes to prevent frostbite. The man knelt and helped break the ice from the dog's fur. He removed his mitten for only a minute, but already his fingers went numb. He quickly put the mitten back on and beat his hand against his chest to restore warmth. By noon, the man reached the fork in Henderson Creek. He was pleased with his progress. He unbuttoned his jacket and pulled out his lunch. But as soon as his bare fingers touched the freezing air, they went numb. Realizing his mistake, the man laughed to himself. I should have built a fire first, he thought. He gathered dry twigs from beneath the trees and carefully built a fire. The flames roared to life, and the man warmed his hands and face. The dog curled up nearby, enjoying the heat. The man ate his lunch and smoked his pipe, feeling confident. The fire had pushed the cold away, and he believed he was in control of the fire. After finishing his meal, the man continued along the creek. For half an hour, he saw no signs of danger. But then, without warning, he stepped onto hidden ice and fell through, soaking his legs up to the knees. He cursed his luck. He had hoped to reach camp by 6 p.m., but now he would have to stop and build another fire to dry his socks and boots. Climbing up the bank, he found some dry branches and lit a small flame. Carefully, he fed the fire with twigs and grass, building it up. But just as the fire began to grow strong, snow from the tree above fell and smothered the flames. The man panicked. He fumbled with his matches, but his fingers were too numb to strike them properly. Desperate, he grabbed the entire box and lit them all at once. The flames flared up but quickly burned out. The man's feet were freezing. He knew he had to get warm or he would die. He looked at the dog, realizing he could kill it and warm his hands inside its body. But when he stepped toward the dog, the animal backed away, sensing the man's fear and desperation. The man tried to run to keep his blood flowing, but the cold was too powerful. His limbs grew heavy, and his breath came in shallow gasps. Finally, he collapsed in the snow. His mind drifted to the old man from Sulphur Creek, who had warned him never to travel alone in such extreme cold. The man had laughed at the warning. Now, as the cold seeped into his body, he understood the truth. The dog sat a few feet away, watching as the man's breathing slowed and finally stopped. The animal waited for a while, then turned and trotted toward the camp, where it knew the other men would be. The man had fought the cold, but nature had won. In the harsh wilderness of the Yukon, survival belonged not to strength or skill, but to respect for the land and its deadly power.